Tonight, Lash residents voice their frustration over the evacuation process. 2 former employees are suing the city of Regina. And a big drug bust by Regina police.
Live from our studios in Regina, this is CTV News.
Good evening. With the park wildfire threatening their community, residents of Lash have made their way to Regina under evacuation orders. But it's not just the fire that has them upset. Evacuees are expressing frustration with the government's aid response, saying they were given little time to evacuate and are now struggling to access basic necessities. Wayne Mantika has the latest.
It was a long ride to Regina for these Lash evacuees.
Pretty rough. Long ways from Regina, especially the bad hip. Sitting in the same spot for 12 hours.
The situation was further complicated when 2 of 4 buses were held back over confusion about whether heavy smoke was sufficient grounds for the evacuation.
So the public safety agency was the support unit and did turn and hold the buses back and ask people to debark until the discussions with community leadership on whether they wish to continue. So they did wish to continue.
In the scramble to leave, some arrived in Regina without a change of clothing. They say there are no laundry facilities, forcing people to wash clothing in bathroom sinks. Others say they arrived without any cash and have yet to see the $500 in expense money recently promised by the government.
The only thing is we have no money. They left. They just picked us off the street and took us out. I didn't bring my wallet, nothing.
Other needs are being well met. Hotel accommodations provided by government are good, and buses have been lined up for day excursions.
We're going to go to the Bell Barn in Indian Head, and head to LeBret, and then to maybe Echo Park. Just something to do to entertain them, I guess, today.
The government says it is providing food, accommodations, and laundry services for Lash evacuees. Those requiring additional financial assistance can apply through an app to have their needs assessed. As for the $500 promised, the government says it is intended for the recovery process of returning home and will be distributed by either the SPSA or the local community. Wayne Mantika, CTV News, Regina.
Within the last 2 months, the city of Regina has terminated 3 employees from its city administration. Now, the city is facing 2 lawsuits for allegedly breaching its employment contracts. Sierra D'Souza Butts explains.
2 former employees are suing the city of Regina after being abruptly dismissed in April of this year. Lee Pham, who was the chief of staff under former city manager Nikki Anderson, and Audra Young, the director of Indigenous Relations and Community Development, filed their lawsuits on July 4th at Court of King's Bench in Regina. Both were fired by the city on April 30th. Now, according to court documents obtained by CTV News, Pham and Young have filed a statement of claim against the city for an alleged breach of their fixed-term employment contract. The pair claims the city dismissed them without providing compensation and other employment benefits that otherwise would have been received until their contracts ended. Pham's contract was set to last until February 2028, while Young's contract would have been in place until February 2027. In a statement to CTV News, the city of Regina says it's aware of the 2 lawsuits and has no further comments as the matter is before the court. Pham was terminated from her position shortly after Anderson went on leave. Anderson has also since been fired by Regina City Council. The allegations have not yet been tested in court as the lawsuit is still in its early stages. The city has also not filed its defense statement. Sierra D'Souza Butts, CTV News, Regina.
An Alberta man living in Regina has been charged with multiple drug-related crimes this week. On Tuesday, 26-year-old Cody Severett was arrested on the 4600 block of Muttry Crescent. Officers seized drugs and cash valued at approximately $200,000. Severett of Fort McMurray is charged with 3 counts of possession of a scheduled substance for the purpose of trafficking cocaine, methamphetamine, and fentanyl, along with possession of property obtained by crime over $5,000. He made his first court appearance at Regina Provincial Court yesterday. RCMP are looking for a man wanted on driving offenses after refusing to pull over in the town of Lampman. Police say 25-year-old Mitchell Buckle from Manitoba is charged with flight from a peace officer and dangerous operation of a motor vehicle. According to RCMP, when officers tried to pull Buckle over on Lampman's Main Street, he fled at high speed, failing to abide by any traffic signs on the way out of town. As a result, he's now wanted. He's described as 5'11", 180 pounds. Buckle also has warrants from Estevan and Winnipeg police. Anyone with information on his whereabouts is asked to contact police or Crime Stoppers. Some significant traffic delays on the eastern side of Regina this afternoon as crews untangled wreckage from the road. The crash involved a box truck and a camper trailer, both needing a tow from the scene at the intersection of Victoria Avenue and Park Street. Traffic in the surrounding area was backed up for several blocks as crews cleared the scene. No word on if anyone was injured. More than a dozen employees at Saskatchewan Polytechnic have received layoff notices. The post-secondary school says it's facing financial pressures as international student enrollment drops. CTV's Stacey Hine has the details.
Saskatchewan Polytechnic has cut 14 out-of-scope employees and says 8 vacant positions won't be filled. That's about 10% of its out-of-scope workforce. In an email to staff on Wednesday, Sask Polytech President Larry Rocha said some departments and faculties are being merged or dissolved. He said more difficult decisions are coming, which may include more layoffs. Rocha added federal immigration changes that limit international student enrollment is creating a significant revenue shortfall for the upcoming academic year. International students typically pay much higher tuition. For example, a domestic student in the medical lab tech program at Sask Polytech pays about $7,300 in tuition a year, while an international student pays $18,500, roughly $11,000 more. The NDP says post-secondary schools have come to rely on that tuition to make up for what it says is underfunding at the provincial level.
Which should never have been in this position in the first place. The Sask Party should have never starved our post-secondary schools of funding.
In a statement to CTV News, the federal government says adequate funding of post-secondary institutions is a provincial responsibility. It says immigration targets are based on an annual plan and designed to match community capacity. It added that post-secondary schools should only accept as many students as they can properly support, including with housing.
Ottawa says it will continue to work with provinces and post-secondaries to find a path forward for international students. Stacey Hine, CTV News, Saskatoon.
Saskatchewan NDP leader Carla Beck and the NDP caucus are in Prince Albert this week, speaking with local leaders and reinforcing the party's stances on provincial issues. Beck also said healthcare, education, crime were on the agenda. The NDP says severe crime in Prince Albert has risen 7% since 2018. Now, a statement from the province says Prince Albert continues to face challenges with crime, but there are signs of progress. The statement says the latest crime severity index from 2024 shows Prince Albert's municipal crime severity index dropped by 20% last year.
You'll continue to see us right around this province. And you know, one of the things, whether it's our meetings here in PA or in Yorkton or in Moose Jaw that we've had recently, that I am always so happy to hear is people noticing that this team is showing up.
Beck says members have been discussing economic development in PA and engaging with Indigenous leaders about economic opportunities in the north. Sabine in with our first look at weather, and today we're seeing some watches and warnings when it comes to storms and air quality as well.
Yeah, it's a mixed bag, Lee. As we approach the weekend, we're seeing air quality warnings in and around the areas of the Parkland. We're seeing severe thunderstorm watches issued for many parts of south central Saskatchewan, including here in Regina. And we even have some severe thunderstorm warnings issued down around the Oxbow, Roche Percy, North Portal area right now, where we could expect to see very strong wind gusts, very large hail, and some heavy rainfall rainfall coming through, and the rain is what will be the story for the weekend beginning tomorrow. So we'll have more on that coming up for you. But in terms of what we saw today, temperatures still within that seasonal range. Felt like about 32 degrees out there for Regina for most of the afternoon, and still is. The average is usually about 26 degrees, and we got right in that range late this afternoon. But as the weekend approaches, starting tomorrow, we're going to see that temperature start to dip and cool even more as we get into Saturday. And I'll have all those details coming up for you in your full forecast. Lee?
All right, thanks, Sabine. When it comes to real estate, it has been a seller's market for quite some time in Saskatchewan. Even smaller centers like Yorkton, Swift Current, and Melville saw record prices last month. Keenan Sorokon has more on what's driving up the prices and when this trend could eventually slow down.
It's the busiest year I have ever had.
Saskatchewan's housing market is showing no signs of slowing down, with communities across the province breaking pricing and sales records last month.
We have 8 communities that reported double-digit gains compared to July last year.
After 25 consecutive months of above-average sales and consistent supply challenges, prices keep climbing. The provincial residential benchmark price hit an all-time high of nearly $373,000 in July, up from last month and over 8% higher than last year. Outside of the hottest markets in Regina and Saskatoon, Humboldt, Meadow Lake, Melville, Swift Current, and Yorkton all broke pricing records.
This is not an urban issue. We are seeing really throughout Saskatchewan pressure on prices.
Mortgage broker Conrad Neufeld says he's been getting more calls than ever from out-of-province buyers being priced out of Ontario and BC.
Realizing that people that are moving here with stronger incomes are bidding up these homes.
Homes are as expensive as they've ever been in Regina and Saskatoon, with the benchmark price of a home at over $343,000 and $435,000 respectively.
The running theme with my conversations is, man, how does anybody afford this? So there's a growing number of population in Saskatchewan that's wondering if they're ever going to own a home, which historically is something that you would expect to see in BC and Ontario.
Garrett doesn't see the market slowing down anytime soon, with more housing needed across the spectrum.
How much runway do we have until we are no longer the most affordable place to live? And that runway is getting shorter and shorter.
With the cost of housing construction rising, Neufeld says there's an emphasis on creating rental or attached units. Add that on top of the population growth Saskatchewan has seen, and this trend could continue for years. Keenan Sorokon, CTV News, Saskatoon.
Saskatchewan's law enforcement community is mourning the loss of a former police chief. Troy Hagan, who served as the chief of the Regina Police Service for 8 years, has passed away at the age of 67. Jacob Carr has more on Hagan's lasting legacy with RPS.
Hagan passed away on July 31st, according to an obituary published on Thursday. Born and raised in Regina, Hagan followed his dream of becoming a police officer, joining RPS in 1979. He rose through the ranks all the way from staff sergeant to chief of police from 2008 to his retirement in 2016. During his time with RPS, Hagan served in patrol, drug, property crimes, stolen auto, and crime prevention divisions. Hagan also served as a member of the Regina Police Association for 17 years, including 8 as president, and he is credited as playing a key role in introducing the 12-hour shift. Current acting chief Laura Lee Davies saw Hagan as a mentor and recalls one of her first police association meetings with Hagan.
And I just remember being so in awe of his presence in the room and the way that he could command a room and just speak with such knowledge and passion. I just was I'm sure, rookie probably just looked dumbfounded. But to me, that just his ability to be able to be passionate and hold a room is something that sticks in my mind.
Throughout his time with RPS, Hagan served on several boards and committees, including Cops for Cancer, Family Services Regina, the Heart and Stroke Foundation, and the United Way. A private celebration of Hagan's life will be held at a later date. According to his obituary, Hagan will be remembered for his unwavering strength, determination, and wholehearted approach to life. Jacob Carr, CTV News, Regina.
Coming up, Trump's tariff tirade is costing consumers in the United States, and the city of Hamilton honors one of their own. U.S. President Donald Trump is bragging today about the billions of dollars a month that will flow into U.S. coffers as more than 60 countries feel the pain of today's latest round of reciprocal tariffs. We are already seeing backlash in the U.S. and elsewhere, with countries pushing back, moving away from trade with the states. CTV's Mike LeCouture has the impact on both sides of the border.
Yes, we're having discussions with the Americans.
Prime Minister Carney wouldn't say when he'll next speak to U.S. President Donald Trump, but Ontario's premier didn't mince words when asked about how Canadians see the American leader.
He's probably the most disliked politician in the world in Canada.
In an interview on CNN, Doug Ford tried to explain to Americans that these tariffs are hurting them.
When you see 37,000 Americans have lost their jobs, that can't pay the rent or can't pay a mortgage, put food on their table, and this is just going to grow even more.
A new report from Yale University shows the current tariffs will hit American consumers.
We're expecting an adjustment of about over $2,000 to, their real household income and sort of purchasing power.
The impact could be felt in back-to-school shopping, as the tariffs will make shoes 40% more expensive, and the price of other clothes will rise by 38% because of import duties. Meantime, the impact on Canada's economy is being measured by the Royal Bank. In June, 92% of Canadian exports crossed into the U.S. duty-free because they are covered under the current trade agreement, leaving 8% subject to punishing tariffs.
That portion of trade is unfortunately facing an average tariff rate of 30%.
Still, the overall impact on the Canadian economy is relatively small at this point, but sectors like steel and aluminum continue to suffer. While campaigning ahead of his by-election in Alberta, Pierre Poilievre criticized Carney's handling of the trade talks.
He's been bending over backwards for the president and so far has gotten nothing in return.
Now, Prime Minister Carney continues to say he will speak to the U.S. president when it makes sense, but there is no clear indication of exactly when that could be. Mike LeCouture, CTV News, Ottawa.
Now, speaking of Poilievre, federal Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre touting his party's new proposal for a Canada Sovereignty Act.
Now, Mark Carney promised that he would handle Donald Trump. That's a quote. He said that he would negotiate a win with Donald Trump. He said that the deal would be done by July the 21st, and then he said it would be done by August the 1st. Those promises were not kept.
Poilievre says his proposed act would counter what he calls illegal foreign tariffs and get Canada back to work. The act would repeal several laws enacted by the federal Liberals, including the Impact Assessment Act, known as Bill C-69, and the ban on large oil tankers on BC's northern coast. Poilievre says the Conservatives will introduce a motion in the fall sitting of Parliament. Well, the Prime Minister did meet with Métis representatives in Ottawa today to discuss his government's major projects bill. It has been condemned by some Indigenous leaders who say their rights were not respected when the legislation was drafted and fear they won't be adequately consulted.
We are doubling the Indigenous Loan Guarantee Program. What this does is effectively finance Indigenous equity ownership of major projects, and we, in part, in that process of doubling the amount to $10 billion, we have dramatically widened the types of projects that can be involved, everything from natural resources, energy, electricity generation, carbon capture, critical minerals, port infrastructure, and well beyond. We're dedicating $40 million to fund to support Métis and other Indigenous peoples' participation in this process, so from negotiation to project selection and its development.
Bill C-5 gives Ottawa power to fast-track projects it deems to be in national interest by sidestepping environmental protections and other legislation. Today's meeting was the last in a series Carney promised after the bill was passed in June. He has already met with First Nations and Inuit leaders. Winnipeg police have arrested a senior member of their force who already was charged last year on new allegations, including drug trafficking and obtaining and distributing pictures of a deceased person. Constable Elston Bostock is a 22-year member of the force. He and two other officers charged in November, but the investigation did continue, and he and a second officer, Constable Vernon Stratinsky, were arrested Wednesday. Police are accusing him of breaking and entering to commit extortion and breach of trust while partnering with Bostock. As wildfires force people from their homes here in Saskatchewan, there are concerns about a rise in misinformation driven by AI. It's prompting officials in BC to issue a warning. CTV's Isabella Zavarais has the story.
Captivating images of wildfires. The photos so realistic that those in charge of wildfire management are worried they could impact how people respond to natural disasters.
People might make decisions based on those images, or be more fearful because of those images, or not take our warnings seriously.
The photos are generated by artificial intelligence. The BC Wildfire Service says it noticed them in the last few weeks on Facebook during the peak of the wildfire season.
Wildfires are already, or can be, a really scary time for people. There can be a lot of anxiety around that. People can be unsure about what to do or what's happening. So anytime that we see potentially adding more fear or anxiety when it's not needed, we're concerned about that.
This is an AI image of the Drought Hill wildfire in Peachland. Here's what it actually looks like.
Often the images that we've seen are making the fires that they're purporting to be about look way worse than they are in reality.
In January, as wildfires tore through Los Angeles, AI images of the iconic Hollywood sign engulfed in flames were shared online.
You know, it's irresponsible for people to put out these types of images. You can be costing people's lives because of putting out fake news like that.
One UBC scientist says he worries AI will be misused.
I predict that, it's only going to become harder from here, that the use of these technologies will become much more pervasive because it's becoming accessible and the models are only getting better. And I think the awareness and the education around these should really be happening right now.
So the message that I have to British Columbians is please be cautious of where you get your information. Be aware of AI-generated content.
The province is urging people to turn to trusted sources of information instead, such as local media, governments, and First Nations. Isabella Zavarais, CTV News, Vancouver.
In the Gaza Strip, local hospital officials say at least 42 Palestinians were killed in Israeli airstrikes and shootings across the southern part of the territory. Somber news on a day that Israel's prime minister said his country is planning to take full control of the Gaza Strip.
We intend to, in order to assure our security, remove Hamas there, enable the population to be free of Gaza, and to pass it to civilian governance. That is not Hamas and not anyone advocating the destruction of Israel.
Benjamin Netanyahu says administration of the enclave would eventually be transferred to friendly Arab forces. The Israelis already control about 3/4 of the territory. Israel's military chief has reportedly warned against occupying Gaza, saying it would endanger the hostages and put further strain on the military after nearly 2 years of war. Israel's security cabinet is meeting to discuss an expansion of the military offensive. And in Hamilton, the city is celebrating a local sports hero. MVP of the NBA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, was given the key to his hometown. Recognition for a standout season, and ended with that NBA championship with the Oklahoma City Thunder. John Musselman has more on Shai Day in the Steel City.
So thousands gathered here for what was called Shai Rally Day. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is not only one of the best basketball players in Canada, but also considered by many as one of the best basketball players in the world. And he grew up right here in Hamilton, going to high school at Sir Allan McNabb. Now today at the rally, they were celebrating the fact that not only did he win the MVP championship, he was also the playoff series MVP and the league MVP. His family was here to join him there with all the fans to show the trophy that they won this year. And also there are accolades from some of the people he grew up, talking about his determination, his passion, and everything that this city means in helping his development to reach the top.
Growing up, as I traveled across the world to countless states, cities, and countries, people always asked me where I was from. Some of my teammates and friends would opt to say Toronto, obviously, because it was more a recognizable city, and they didn't want to have to explain what and where Hamilton was on the map. I took pride in letting everyone know I was from Hamilton.
Today, he was given a key to the city by Mayor Andrea Horvath. And again, tonight, he will be honored during the Hamilton Tiger Cats BC Lions football game with a special tribute. John Musselman, CTV News in Hamilton.
Still ahead, a look at the crop outlook as harvest is set to begin in Saskatchewan.
Keep stars in the sky. In the morning, we're going on the go with Stars Air Ambulance on deadline day for their grand prize lotto.
News, weather, and traffic. It's everything you need. CTV Morning Live, weekdays 6 to 9.
Welcome back. Let's take a look at what we can expect for the forecast. Today was quite sunny and quite warm in the Queen City. I do need to give a quick shout out to my Auntie Seema, who is visiting and did get a chance to enjoy at least one day of beautiful weather. Temperatures currently sitting at 25 degrees. Did warm up to about 26 degrees, feeling like 32. So a very warm day in the Queen City. That is about to change. And we have a number of watches and warnings, as I mentioned earlier, talking to Lee, that we have in the province, primarily central southern Saskatchewan. Now, the rainfall warnings about Hudson Bay to Crystal Springs, Nipawin, Melfort, many areas affected by this. Now, this is in effect from now into about Sunday when that rain is expected to clear. The last tracking that I was looking at for accumulations for the area was showing over 100 millimeters of rain for some parts in that area. Now it has changed, which we're still seeing those warnings. The rainfall warnings suggest we could see up to about 50 to 75 millimeters of rain in a very short span of time. So something to keep in mind there. We have the severe thunderstorm watches in effect, including for Regina. And then, as I mentioned earlier, a number of severe thunderstorm warnings, including down in the Oxbow, Roche, Percy area. So this is a system that's going to be sticking around starting tomorrow into Saturday, for much of Saturday. I'm going to get out of the way so you can get a clearer picture of what's to come. The systems will start around the Lloydminster, Saskatoon area. Eventually, you can start see it start developing and building and rotating right over Saskatchewan. Now it's looking like primarily the Prince Albert area. Parkland still being affected. Saskatoon will be affected by this rain coming through, along with areas including Regina. You can see mostly by Saturday morning is where we're going to see the bulk of this rain come through. In terms of rainfall totals, there's many areas that will be seeing that rain leave some sort of rainfall totals, and I'll show you that in a second. But by Sunday morning, much of that will clear out. So this is the updated look at what we can expect, obviously mimicking what that tracker is showing. So up to 60 millimeters expected in Prince Albert. Now Hudson Bay is showing about 30, but still Hudson Bay is in that rainfall warning, so we could expect more than 30 millimeters of rain. Yorkton about 20, 40 for Saskatoon. Regina could see 60 millimeters. Moose Jaw close to 20. Same with Maple Creek, close to 20. Estevan close to 20. Weyburn in the 20s. So quite a bit of rain in a short amount of time. Again, primarily most of that rain will start Saturday morning for many parts of the southern half of Saskatchewan. Temperatures also cooling quite a bit. 19 expected for Lloydminster, Prince Albert with the risk of thunderstorms. 24 for Lash, 22 for La Ronge. Saskatoon, rain, risk of thunderstorm 21, 19 for North Battleford, 22 for Yorkton, all expecting to see rain and a risk of thunderstorms. Same for the southwest and cooler for Maple Creek tomorrow, 18, 19 for Swift Current, 21 for Moose Jaw, the southeast. Similar, 23 with mostly cloudy conditions for Estevan, 18 for Assiniboia, and 22 for Weyburn. For Regina, 14 tonight, so still warmer than the average, which is about 11, 12 degrees. 21 for tomorrow with the rain and a risk of thunderstorm, primarily in the afternoon. And here's a look at your next 7 days. So yes, the next couple of days a little cooler, rainier, windy even on Saturday. 17 is the expected high with rain throughout the day. Winds close to 60 kilometers an hour. But by Sunday, we're back into sunnier conditions. 24 is the expected high. And then as your work week starts, mainly sunny conditions. The temperature still within seasonal range. 23 on Monday, 24 and sunny on Tuesday. And then by Wednesday, we're back closer to seasonal. 25 and a mix of sun and cloud. And then we'll see a little bit of a cool down by Tuesday at about 21 degrees and mainly sunny. But I don't want to be the bearer of bad news because it really depends on who you are, and we will probably see those temperatures start to gradually get closer into the low 20s, if not the high teens, as we get closer into mid-August and late August, Lee.
Which also means the lows are probably going to be a little lower.
A little
too,
cooler.
nighttime.
Yeah. As of right now, though, very warm lows.
Yeah, that's okay. I'd rather have the lower lows. Open that window for nighttime.
I get it.
Yeah, love it. That's why I like the fall. Thanks, Sabine.
You bet.
Well, it's been a busy growing season for Saskatchewan farmers. Now the focus is going to fall on the harvest, with some farmers hoping for a good crop, while others know it's already going to be a lost cause again this year. Damian Smith has the latest with this week's crop report.
I mean, this summer's been an interesting one. Despite not being as dry as last summer, many areas outside of Regina are feeling the effects of long, dry spurts, especially in the southwest region, which once again is getting an early start on harvest compared to other areas in Saskatchewan.
Earlier in the growing season really took a major toll on crops in the southwest. So again, the rain will help crops to an extent, but a lot of the damage has already been done in that area due to the widespread dry conditions they've had.
Topsoil conditions around the province from cropland has fell to just 5% surplus, with hayland and pasture topsoil moisture conditions dropping to just a 4% surplus. Just outside of Regina, Nick's service has seen some agriculture workers pop in to prepare the harvest for early seeded crops. With that milder, wetter weather that we've had this year, harvest is maybe getting back to normal in that middle of August, late August window. But I know we've heard lots of customers this week are planning on desiccating lentils and getting into pulses in the next week or so. And limited participation in some areas has dropped the quality of pastures, with 27% considered in poor or very poor condition.
The thing with pastures is they need that early moisture, that early spring moisture, and that early spring heat to get them kind of set up for the year. So those areas of the province, particularly that southwest, that were dry for so long, the grass just didn't get that good start to the season.
Despite the harvesting stage now starting around the province, we're only 1% complete according to the crop report, so there is still a lot of ways to go. The harvesting process typically starts to pick up around mid-August to late August. Damian Smith, CTV News, Regina.
Coming up, the Regina Thunder prepare to defend their PFC title as the season starts this weekend.
Wardrobe consideration in part by Colin O'Brien Men's Shop.
For just the third time in team history, the Regina Thunder Junior Football Club enters the PFC season as defending champions. They'll head to Edmonton to face the Huskies this weekend, and as Donovan Mace tells us, the team is trying to win back-to-back titles for the first time ever.
The hunt to defend their Prairie Football Conference title is now underway for the Regina Thunder.
We've never done it. It must be super hard. But, I think this year, especially when I look across the league, there's a lot of, parity across the league. You never know really who's going to be the top guys.
In 2024, the Thunder came out on top of the PFC, but fell one win short of the national championship, losing in the semifinal.
We have individual and team goals that we're also working towards, and it's a bit of a process, right? You can't get to a national championship without taking that first step.
We're playing with a vengeance, and we're going to be coming.
There are some changes from last season, including an offensive coordinator with Carter Gustway taking over the play calling, and at quarterback with returning player Adam Mosher taking over the reins.
It's definitely not going to be easy. Like, we're going to have a target on our back. Everyone wants to take out the champ to become champ, so we'll just keep pushing.
While the team has high hopes to defend their PFC championship, they're hungrier than ever to return to the Canadian Bowl, still in search of their first national title since 2013. But building momentum starts 1 week at a time.
We're not afraid to kind of talk about it, but at the end of the day, if you want to get there, you got to take each week by itself. And, if you're not getting better each week and you're not concentrating on that opponent, you might fall behind.
Relying on experience to get them to where they want to go.
But I think the one thing that's good about having, a veteran-laced group of guys that played last year is that they're going to know how to handle themselves in the big-time games.
The Thunder begin their title defense Sunday on the road against the Edmonton Huskies. Donovan May, CTV News, Regina.
Well, the Western Canadian Baseball League playoffs are underway with the underdogs coming out on top early on in the East Division. In Saskatoon, the Moose Jaw Miller Express scored 5 runs in the first 3 innings, hanging on for the 6-4 victory over the Berries. The top-seeded Saskatoon Berries, by the way, broke a league record this year, winning 46 of the 55 games. The Game 2 of the best-of-3 series goes tonight at Roswell's Park in Moose Jaw. Other series saw the Regina Red Sox take a 6-2 victory out of Medicine Hat. Raphael Jackson and James Wright hitting home runs in a win. Game 2 of that series is tonight at Curry Field here in Regina. And some PWHL news. One of Saskatoon's own will be staying in Ottawa.
He made an empty net. They bury it. It's Emily Clark yet again for Ottawa.
Emily Clark, one of the star players on the Ottawa Charge, sticking with the team for the foreseeable future, signing a 2-year contract extension. The 29-year-old has been a part of the team since the inaugural season, and in a statement, she says since the very first game, the team has felt the unwavering support of the fans, adding she's excited for more games in Ottawa. Still ahead, a walk through time in the city of Yorkton.
Welcome back. Let's take a look at your rural forecast for tomorrow. It's a lot of rain, risk of thunderstorms throughout the day as well, and temperatures cooler than what the average is. And we will see that similar to Saturday as well as we take a look at what's to come. And there you have it. A lot of temperatures, expecting to see daytime highs in the high teens, 19 for Meadow Lake and Lloydminster and Kindersley. Kindersley just cloudy, no rain there, not until later in the day. Spiritwood 17, Watrous 21, and for Hudson Bay 21, Wynyard 19, Melfort 18, all expecting to see rain and a risk of thunderstorm throughout the day. When we get closer to the southern border, a little bit more sunshine, but also still seeing this risk of thunderstorms throughout the day as well. Leader, mostly cloudy though, 20 degrees there, 19 with a risk of thunderstorm for Maple Creek, 21 and a risk of thunderstorm for Kenora, also for Lumsden and Pilot Butte, and then mostly cloudy down in the Carlisle area. 23 is the expected daytime high. Rain not expected in that area until Friday night into Saturday morning. But if we take a closer look at Asquith, which is located just west of Saskatoon, also where internet speeds up to 1 gig are available through SaskTel, 19 degrees, feeling more like 21 tomorrow, but continuing to see rain throughout the day with a risk of thunderstorms in the afternoon.
Well, if you're looking for something to do this summer, the city of Yorkton has you covered. A local history buff is leading a new walking tour, providing a glimpse into the community's past. Regina DeClute has more on what truly is a walk down memory lane.
Did you know that Yorkton has a haunted coffee house, or that the hotel downtown used to be a brick storage? These are the kind of fun facts you'll hear on the new walking tour of the city's downtown.
My personal favorite stops that I find the most interesting would be the Hudson Bay Company store. I find that the building is visually appealing, and I also find that the fact that the building has been preserved and looks exactly the same way as it was when it was first built.
For early tour goers, it's literally a chance to walk down memory lane.
My wife saw it on Facebook, and we just thought it would be an interesting thing to do for a few hours.
The tour is guided by a local high school graduate with a passion for local history.
So the City of Yorkton already has a few publications out with tours. Some of them are of residential areas and some of them are of Broadway. And so I took those publications, I studied them, and I took bits and pieces from each publication and compiled them into a tour of my own.
The walk explores 18 landmarks to connect with Yorkton's rich history, dating back to its founding in the late 1800s.
I think it's a very good idea. I think more residents should be involved in learning about our city and our community.
The tour started at the end of July and runs until the 27th of August.
I find that already the first tour that I made is already drastically different from the tour that I'm using right now, and I find it will also be drastically different from the tour that I'll be using at the end, and I think that is all just about growth.
Throughout August, the Nostalgic Walk offers a glimpse into Yorkton's past. Regina DeClute, CTV News, Yorkton.
The Canada Strong Pass, allowing free entry into national parks, is bringing joy to many Canadians, but it's also creating challenges for those that are working at the parks. Over the long weekend in Alberta, a national park had to divert traffic away, while Banff's mayor says the volume of vehicles is not sustainable. Tyler Barrow has more.
Two things not hard to find in Banff in the summer: stunning peaks, swarms of people. Irina Kachun and Eor Mazurek recently moved to Toronto from Ukraine. They're taking advantage of the Canada Strong Pass that provides free access into national parks.
It's very cool that Parks Pass is free, so we decided to use it.
These two Calgarians are also partly here because of the free entry.
It's not much of a trek to come all the way out, and then now that you don't have to pay for it.
The pass was an election pitch by Prime Minister Mark Carney. It was a strategy to unite Canadians by encouraging domestic travel. The pass came into effect June 20th, and in Banff, it hasn't been seamless. Year to date, the town's traffic volume is up 6%. Recently, it recorded its second busiest day ever.
Cannot handle that volume of vehicles into the long term, so we need to continue to work with our provincial and federal partners to look at mass transit.
The town also points to Calgary and area's booming population, strong U.S. dollar, and the sentiment of Canadians wanting to vacation at home for the increase in traffic volume. Residents share the mayor's concern.
Getting out of town by car, like sometimes it's taken me like 20-30 minutes to get out of town.
It's too much. The reality, there's too much tourism that has to be monitored.
And over the long weekend, Waterton had to divert traffic away.
So we want to be sure that we don't reach gridlock for safety reasons like in any other jurisdiction.
While parks try to handle the volume of vehicles, businesses are noticing the increase in volume.
The amount of local Canadian traffic has spiked very noticeably, especially day traffic.
The crowds will likely continue as the Canada Strong Pass will be good until September 2nd, the Tuesday after the Labor Day weekend. Tyler Barrow, CTV News, Banff.
Stock markets both on the way down today. The TSX dropped by 159 points, the Dow Jones by 224 points. The Canadian dollar, it went up 0.08 of a cent to 72.81 cents U.S. Commodity front, gold up $27.04. West Texas Intermediate crude down 47 cents, while Western Canadian Select crude was down 44 cents. And gas in Regina, no change today. It's commonly found at most places, if not all, for $1.37.9 per liter. Coming up tonight, we got the Big Bang Theory twice, then we got two rookies, and Big Bang Theory again. So if you're a fan of those two shows, your night is set. Fans of the Office TV series are in for a treat as the first trailer of the spin-off series, The Paper, drops.
I am your new editor-in-chief.
Have you read this paper?
Uh-huh.
How do you think it compares to any other paper?
It sucks. But we are.
So this mockumentary series focuses on a different kind of office, once shared between a struggling newspaper and a toilet paper company.
Makes sense.
It tells the story of one journalist's mission to revitalize the paper and mobilize a ragtag group of staffers. Series shares the same creator and executive producers of the original Office and will debut on Peacock on September 4th.
Be interesting to see how well this does. I knew the English Office.
Oh,
so I didn't think the U.S. Yeah, I didn't. That was the original. Yeah. I didn't think the U.S. Office would match it, and it did. So who knows?
Who knows? Signs have been posted at a beach in Connecticut warning about a seagull named Cecil or Cecil.
We'll find out.
Does not give up.
As long as he puts his mind to it, he can eat anything on the beach at this point.
I'm going to call him Cecil. The seagull is notorious for taking food right out of people's hands.
Oh, no.
Signs have been put up warning people about Cecil's bold behavior. Lifeguards say he loves his carbs, but also has a taste for the finer things like king crab. And while it might sound funny, some people have actually reported being bitten by Cecil when he makes that move for the food.
Now, you're asking for trouble. You don't chase it.
Not Cecil. Cecil the seagull. I got nothing with it.